A landowner walks a Georgia riverbank to check storm damage and finds worked stone jutting from freshly collapsed sediment. Not one piece. Dozens scattered alongside bone and charcoal old enough to challenge every accepted timeline for the first people in the southeast. Laboratories would return numbers that stunned researchers. But the river had already stripped away the one thing those numbers needed: original context. John Patterson steps through the saturated clay of his family's property to inspect a fresh slump along the Ogeechee River in Bryan County. He is looking for downed timber, not history. Then, the earth gives way. Half buried in the exposed face of the terrace sits a dense concentration of chert flakes, fire-cracked rock, and freshwater mussel shell. This single collapse exposes over 80 individual stone artifacts along a 12-meter span of the bank. While similar contexts in Georgia have contributed to a database of 30,000 registered archaeological sites, this new exposure immediately loses half its scientific value. Like a painting stripped of its documentation, an artifact pulled from its original geological layer by rushing water retains its beauty but loses its voice. For generations, this spot near the town of Pembroke served as nothing more than a private fishing launch. Its everyday utility kept it off the state's archaeological radar, showing how easily deep-time history hides beneath ordinary feet. In local memory, this bank has always been unstable. John Jack Patterson, whose family farmed this Ogeechee stretch since the 1880s, recalls the night of September 12, 1994, when 3 days of heavy storms triggered a massive collapse. But the common shorthand that the river washes away a bank and a landowner simply finds arrowheads ignores the violent physics of erosion. When swift currents scour the toe of a riverbank, they strip away its basal support. Saturated upper layers slump downward, shearing through thousands of years of layered deposits. To archaeologists, a site is like a book. If the pages remain bound, if the stratigraphy remains intact, you can read the story. Provenience is the exact position of an object on the page, but a collapse tears those pages out, mixing older material into newer layers during redeposition. Because the earliest observations went unrecorded, we must read a story whose pages are already scattered downstream. When professional investigators first arrive on the Ogeechee terrace, their immediate task is triage, not triumph. They catalog 23 chert flakes, 3 edge-damaged scrapers, and a fragment of a bifacial tool. Methodically, they map these finds into 2 distinct categories: those recovered from the active slump pile, already stripped of their stratigraphic context, and those still embedded in the firm, dark clay matrix of the intact wall. This eroding bank is a ledger being shredded in real time, exposing its contents to the air only to wash them downstream. To preserve what remains, researchers collect charcoal flecks and quartz sand grains for future analysis. Yet, even advanced laboratory testing holds inherent limits. Radiocarbon analysis of charcoal can only date the death of the organic wood, not the moment human hands fashioned a nearby tool. Similarly, optically stimulated luminescence measures when the sediment was last exposed to the sun, leaving the true age of the artifacts themselves open to debate. Volunteer student Sarah Vance uncovers a thin, fluted chert point, 5 centimeters long, still wedged horizontally in the lower terrace clay. Its classic lanceolate shape matches styles dating to 13,000 years ago, suggesting a fleeting campsite from the region's earliest human occupants. To secure this context, the Lamar Institute establishes a precise 5-foot grid, excavating in 6-inch spits and screening every bucket of soil through 1/4-inch mesh. Lead archaeologist Daniel Elliott later noted that structured excavation is the only way to separate undisturbed history from random river debris. While his assessment is undeniably true, it highlights a stark limitation. A rigorous chain of custody proves where this single tool rested, but no 3-dimensional grid can reconstruct the cubic meters of ancient terrace already swept down the Ogeechee. For decades, the Clovis First framework dictated that the first Americans arrived 13,000 years ago. Alternative coastal and riverine models suggest earlier migrations, but a single riverbank cannot prove a route or date an entire site. Respectful consultation with descendant native communities remains the only path to understanding cultural identity, which cannot be inferred from a single tool. The stone itself complicates the picture. Geochemical analysis traces the chert to the Ridge and Valley province, over 200 kilometers northwest. While this reveals ancient transport, exchange, or natural relocation, it leaves a gap. If the stone came from far outside this river valley, what does that imply about movement, and what does it still fail to prove? To establish a timeline, researchers sent charcoal from the terrace to the University of Georgia Center for Applied Isotope Studies. Under sample number UGAMS 54,000, accelerator mass spectrometry yielded an age of 14,500 years, plus or minus 50 years. This precise measurement dates the organic wood, not the manufacture of the artifact. A dating result of 14,500 years seems to settle the timeline. Yet, in geomorphology, proximity does not equal association. Skeptics point out that during a riverbank failure, older organic materials like charcoal frequently wash down and mix with younger stone tools in the collapsed, redeposited sediment. Without a clear stratigraphic seal, a loose artifact found near ancient carbon proves nothing about when the tool was actually made. Defenders counter with evidence that cannot be explained by random mixing. At the Ogeechee site, researchers documented a tight cluster of chert flakes with matching fracture patterns, refitted to the same original core, deep within an intact remnant of the clay wall. This physical reconstruction shows the tools were knapped on-site, undisturbed by river currents. While this localized evidence supports a genuine early human presence, it stops short of resolving the larger migration timeline. But the riverbank dispute is only one part of the argument. It feeds into a wider debate over how the first Americans moved across the continent, whether they followed coastal and riverine routes or pushed through the interior. Mainstream archaeologists remain cautious, citing sparse regional evidence, poor preservation in acidic southern soils, and the danger of overinterpreting a single isolated artifact when shifting river channels can so easily scramble the historical record. Daniel Elliott noted that only structured excavation can separate undisturbed history from random river debris. His warning is undeniably true, yet it does not resolve how to evaluate a site where the context has already washed away. Today, the Ogeechee River continues its quiet work in Bryan County. The small flood that first exposed these stone tools on Jack Patterson's farm initiated a massive scientific debate. Yet the physical reality of the site remains unchanged. The recovered artifacts now rest inside the University of West Georgia's Waring Center, catalogued under state site files, away from the water. No historic marker stands on the riverbank, and no public signs point to the discovery. Meanwhile, the unreinforced bank remains unprotected, shearing further with each seasonal high water event. Each storm carries more of the terrace downstream, burying potential answers in the river mud. We are left watching a ledger dissolve, wondering how much history can be saved before the water takes the rest. This controversy is not a matter of fraud or a deliberate hoax. The real conflict lies in the irreconcilable gap between precise laboratory measurements and the chaotic reality of an eroding riverbank. As Daniel Elliott observed, only structured excavation can truly separate undisturbed history from random river debris. While his assessment is undeniably accurate, it leaves the central mystery of the Ogeechee River unresolved. The physical stone tools and soil samples now reside in the University of West Georgia's Waring Center, secure in archives but stripped of their original environment. Back in Bryan County, the muddy water continues to cut into the unprotected clay bank, carrying potential answers away. The river keeps the evidence moving. Today, the Ogeechee River sweeps past the empty bank in silence, while the stone tools rest securely in dry archival boxes. Their context dissolves in the muddy water. Science is left holding the pieces, but the river keeps the puzzle.